The law of attraction. It's supposed to be so simple, isn't it? In The Secret, they tell you step 1, ask. Step 2, believe. And step 3, receive. Simple as ABC, right? Really? In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the main reasons that I think people struggle to make the law of attraction work for them. I'm Elizabeth Hackford, the Law of Attraction Lady. This channel is all about real life engagement and experience from an average person with the law of attraction. So let's dig right into this subject. Let's go back to those 3 tenets of the law of attraction. Number 1, ask. I don't think anybody has any trouble with asking what their desires are to live in the house of your dreams, to attract the partner of your dreams into your life, to attract that promotion at work. Let's say you know what it is. Number 1, step 1, ask. That part is not difficult for everyone to achieve. Step 2, believe. They float through this in The Secret, in the movie, very quickly, and a lot of the high-flying self-development professionals talk about this real belief in having success, real belief that you've got what it is you're aiming for. It really isn't that simple. There's a whole conundrum of problems, of obstacles in our way as to why we cannot physically, mentally generate that level of belief that is required to make the law of attraction work for us. And we haven't even got to step 3 yet, receiving. So let's just focus a little bit on step 2, believe. Let me talk to you about a story that Napoleon Hill references in his book. I've got this wonderful book. This is the PhD of the law of attraction. This is one of the oldest self-development books going around. Absolutely fantastic. I think this is the core principles of everything. It's a little bit ethereal, so sometimes it's hard to grapple with. And in a lot of my videos, I'm going to be taking sections of this book and discussing them. There's a story very early on about a child going to a man and asking for 50 cents. One afternoon, he was helping his uncle grind wheat in an old-fashioned mill. The uncle operated a large farm on which a number of sharecrop farmers lived. Quietly, the door was opened and a small child, the daughter of a tenant, walked in and took her place near the door. The uncle looked up, saw the child and barked at her roughly. "What do you want?" Meekly, the child replied, "My mummy says send her 50 cents. Now the story goes on that the child stands there waiting for the money, and the farmer, the uncle, shouts at the child, tells her to go away, and on the 3rd occasion the child stands firm and shouts back at the farmer, "My mummy sent me, give me my 50 cents. And as if a penny drops in the farmer's head, he dips into his pocket and he gives the child 50 cents, and the child runs away. And that was after threatening to thrash her with a stave of corn. So what gave the child the confidence to stay there, and what flipped in the farmer's head to dig into his pocket and give what the child desired? I think this all stems down to step 2, which is belief. Imagine a mummy says to her child, "Go and get 50 cents from the farmer." What does the child think? "Oh, I'll never be able to do that. The farmer's a mean man. Oh, my mummy must be lying to me again. That's impossible. Oh, mummy says I can get 50 cents from the farmer. And the mother said, don't leave until you get it." Now, this is a child who loves her mother. She believes what her mother tells her. She will get that 50 cents. So when the farmer refuses to give the 50 cents to her, the child is fighting with this genuine deep belief that she should be getting that 50 cents. What I think was the secret ingredient in this situation was that the child fundamentally believed from her core that she would have that 50 cents because that was the impression her mummy gave her. And that belief that she would get 50 cents meant she was stoked to stay in front of the farmer until she got the money. And somewhere along the lines, that farmer realized this child ain't gonna go. And when he realized that, the penny dropped. Screw it, let me just give her the 50 cents. And what's also interesting is in the precursor to that story, Napoleon Hill tells us a story called 3 Feet from Gold. And he talks about a man called McDarby who had an uncle who had basically bought a gold mine, and he gave up drilling when he was 3 feet from gold. This story talks about McDarby's uncle. It's not clear in the book, but we can assume it was the same uncle who stopped 3 feet from gold, and he's now running a farm. And this little girl comes to him years later, and she's a stubborn little mite, and she stands in front of him. Maybe Maybe the farmer suddenly thought of the time that he had given up, and he admired the child's persistency that he gave the 50 cents. Doesn't really matter what it was that changed in the mind of the farmer. The point was the universe was at play, because that child believed from her core that she would have that money. Sure enough, the 50 cents was delivered to her. So this really was just a short example to show how belief can change things. And I think step 2, believe, is perhaps the biggest milestone of the 3 tenets of the law of attraction. So in step 3, receive, that goes into really the feeling of having received what it is that you want. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but in this video in particular, I wanted to just focus on belief. I think it's probably Bob Proctor who gives the most emphasis on what the problems are with believing. It's your subconscious, and there's so much in your subconscious that is against you, these paradigms that have been created in your way of thinking. It's all about the way you think. The problem most of us encounter as adults is our paradigms have already been set, and they're deeply engraved in our subconscious. I'm too ugly, I'm too fat, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not musical, I can't do this, I can't do that. These thoughts, which have basically come to us from the outside world and been ingrained in our psyche, and we've often had experiences which have then exacerbated our own thinking of those thoughts. These are all set in our subconscious. The subconscious has these paradigms. For example, when I was a child, I was very musical. I always sang in a choir from the age of 10. I've lived overseas a lot, and I would arrive at a new choir, an amateur professional choir in the city, and I would arrive and say I'd like to join, and they'd say, well, we've got a waiting list. But something would happen because of my belief that I was good and I could add value as an alto in any choir. I would always get a slot. It's like the person who's driving his car and he knows he's got a parking angel. He will always find a parking space near to the shop where he wants to visit. These little beliefs are all in there, but we have hundreds of paradigms in different subjects, particularly our love life, our career, our health. Now the thing is, with a lot of these leading lights in the business of the law of attraction, is they don't tell you how to change your beliefs. They don't offer you solutions for repairing those paradigms that are delivering you bad results, mediocre results, those paradigms that are sabotaging your success. They don't offer you solutions on how to change all that. Obviously, visualizations and affirmations work towards that, but they don't really get into the core of changing your beliefs. So step 1, ask. Step 2, believe. Step 3, receive. Step 2, I just really wanted to emphasize today, the reason why the law of attraction is not quite so simple and straightforward as it seems is because you've inherited, through your experience and through your outside influences, you have arrived today with a subconscious that is already hardwired to generate certain outcomes. I'm afraid to say, to make the law of attraction work for you, you've got to start chiseling away at the subconscious and changing those paradigms. It takes a lot of self-discipline. Now, I am going to be offering on my channel lots of solutions, particularly self-hypnosis, affirmations, certain kinds of affirmations. Anyway, believing is not as simple as all that. It's a stumbling block for a lot of us because we've got a subconscious that is hardwired already to deliver different outcomes than we want. I'm Elizabeth Hackford. I'm the Law of Attraction lady. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. I will be discussing many elements of Napoleon Hill's books, as well as some of the teachings of Esther Hicks, Greg Braden, and many, many more. And I will share a lot of my own real experiences. Thanks for watching me today. Over and out. See you soon. Bye bye.